It's time for another edition of the Boselli Breakdown. Another Jaguars loss, unfortunately, Tony, last week in Philadelphia. Another wild one, a 22-0 deficit. And somehow the Jags climbed back in the game. They had the football in their hand late, but they couldn't execute big plays and big moments, and turnovers killed this team again.
Yeah, it was one of those games, JP, where you probably had no business being in the game at all. We should thank Nick Sirianni for just leaving points on the field, passing up field goals, going for two when he didn't need to, so on and so forth. And then finally, in the 9 minutes left in the third quarter, we finally get in the end zone for the first time and have a little bit of life. And then that Saquon Barkley was a little bit of a freak play. And next thing you know, you look up and it's a one-possession game. And it was quite remarkable. But I think the story of this season so far is not being able to take advantage of opportunities, not making the plays when you have to, when you have a chance to win it. Whether that's offensively this week, really poor performance in the first half, really first 2.5 quarters, but had a chance to win it at the end and couldn't, find a way to get in the end zone and through the late interception, or previous weeks where the defense couldn't get the stop. But that's kind of the story. That's the narrative right now. Just not finishing games, not finding ways to win. We're finding ways to lose football games.
All right, Tony. Now, moving ahead, the stretch of tough games against NFC opponents continues, and it's back into the NFC North this week. The Minnesota Vikings playing good football. They got a win last week again. What about this matchup this week, coming back to the bank in week number 10?
Yeah, it's another winning football team that's, they have playoff aspirations in the best division in the NFL, the NFC North. Got a big win against the Colts on Sunday Night Football. You mentioned Justin Jefferson. They got T.J. Hawkinson back, their tight end, who's dynamic. They got Cam Robinson, a guy we know pretty well, starting left tackle. It's a good unit. And Sam Darnold's really kind of reinvented and kind of brought life back to his career. And then defensively, I think there's opportunities to score points on them, but boy, you got to be really tight in your protection and your identification. It's going to be a big test for Trevor Lawrence and Mitch Morse, the center, to identify and understand who's coming, who's not. Brian Flores is a very creative defensive coordinator, does a lot of stuff on the back half, a lot of different blitzes, different coverages. And they didn't allow the Colts to get in the end zone last week. So it's another tough matchup, but every week's tough, different challenges.
Now, big picture for this Jaguars team, they are what they are, 2-7. They've had 5 losses of 5 points or less this year. They're right there on the edge in some of these games. And it's about the midway point, Tony. I mean, we're 3 weeks to Thanksgiving, and we're talking about this big picture stuff, playing for pride and trying to get better and do it. Yeah, everybody's shaking their head like you, I think, at this point of this season. So, if results don't come the next couple weeks, I mean, what's left on the table for this team the rest of the year?
Well, right now, I don't think you even can talk about anything but the week that's coming up, because at 2-7, I mean, you win 7 of 8, you get to 9 and 8. Can you sneak in the wild card in the AFC? Maybe, because there's a lot of teams with poor records. But right now, this team's not playing good enough to even think about that. And so I think really, and it's beat up.
Yes.
And so I think where it starts, JP, is you got to find a way. Just go get a win against Minnesota. I know people get tired of hearing that. You want to talk about big picture, and if you're not careful, you're going to be talking about offseason moves and draft and everything else way earlier than you ever want to. And so right now, you got to change the narrative. You have to go find a way to win a game and make the plays when it matters. And that's the opportunity that's sitting right there in front of you with the Minnesota Vikings, a good football team coming to town. And so all you can do is have a good week of preparation and show up there to Everbank on Sunday and go give a great effort and find a way to get a victory. Because, talking about anything else right now is kind of ridiculous. I mean, you're 2-7. You're one of the worst. You have the worst record. You're tied for the worst record in the entire NFL. And talking about anything else besides just trying to figure out how to beat a good Vikings team, I think is a waste of time.
All right, that's the task at hand this week. 1 o'clock kickoff time Eastern at Everbank Stadium, the Minnesota Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Tony, we'll talk to you again next week. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, JP.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and take a look at all the other videos on our YouTube channel.